Hello, and welcome to this series of 3 presentations on finding and applying for a PhD. This is part 2, and we'll focus on finding opportunities and funding possibilities. So there are 2 key ways of finding opportunities. The first is to develop your own project, and the second is applying to advertised opportunities. So developing your own project is most common in the arts and humanities and the social sciences. You'll create a research proposal for which you may need to do extensive reading. You need to identify a potential supervisor and then approach academics with your proposal to see if they feel that they can support it and supervise you. So it's really important to ask tutors for advice. Don't try to do this on your own. Applying to advertised opportunities is most popular within STEM disciplines, but there are also some opportunities in arts, humanities, and social sciences. And to find opportunities, it's best to search sites such as jobs.ac.uk, prospects.ac.uk, and findaphd.com. And in these situations, your application will be tailored to the specific project. You might also be considering studying outside the UK, and there are some real benefits to this because you're going to experience a new research environment, methodology, maybe different perspectives. It also demonstrates mobility, which can be an advantage if you are applying for academic positions in the future. It will give you enhanced cultural awareness and language skills, and you need to be aware, though, that there may be different durations of the degree and different structures to the PhD. There are some really good resources for researching study beyond the UK at findaphd.com and their study abroad guides, and our own website, the careers at York, and our World Links pages, which will help you find information about researching and applying for postgraduate study elsewhere. Finding the right institution and supervisor is really important. So you need to do a lot of research. So look at potential academics and their online academic profiles, their activities, their publications, and try and find out what kind of research they've already supervised. But again, talk to staff in your department, ask for recommendations. Where should you be look? Who might be good people to approach? Research departments and research group. Look to see how many staff are undertaking research in your proposed area. Would there be a group or would you be the only one? And what sort of support and development opportunities would be available to you if you were able to study in that particular institution? And also be aware of what your working environment would be like. Would you be working in a lab? Would you be part of a research group? Would you have any office space, or would you be working mainly independently from home? So it's really important to talk to potential supervisors. Make that initial contact by email, unless you already know them well. So, for example, they're in your department and you've been taught by them previously. But if you are doing that contact by email, keep it concise but clear, and include some of the following. So your reasons for approaching them. Why are you interested in working them? Show them that you know something about their work. Tell them a bit about your academic background. What have been your studies to date? What's your research interests? Include a CV and maybe your initial research proposal. It doesn't need to be too well developed at this stage. Also include details of any funding that you think you would be able to apply for. And just remember that the researcher-supervisor relationship is really critical. So find out as much about them as you can before applying or accepting an offer. And it can be really helpful to talk to current PhD students and postdocs within your department just to get a bit of advice on this. So we're going to move on now to funding a PhD. The first thing to say, it's complex. There are many different funders. It's very different from funding for an undergraduate degree or a taught postgraduate qualification. So you may be eligible for government loans or scholarships. You might be able to apply for funding from UK research councils or university scholarships. There are also graduate teaching assistantships. Some funding comes through business and industry. Quite a bit comes through charities and trusts. But it's also important to realise that a lot of PhD students are self-funding, particularly in the arts and humanities and social sciences. So they may be studying on a part-time basis and working full-time to cover their costs. So we'll look at some of these in a little bit more detail. So studentships typically cover tuition fees and living allowances. These would be known as full studentships, or partial studentships would cover tuition fees only. So some of the key providers of these are the UK research councils. There are 7 of these. They allocate their funding directly to universities, who will decide on who receives them. And this is usually given to doctoral training centres. Universities may offer their own studentships, and these will be advertised on their websites. Value may vary. This could also include teaching studentships, where your fees are paid by the university in, on, in recognition of you being involved in teaching or demonstrating and marking students' work. There are also professional and charitable organisations who offer studentships, but these might be linked to a specific topic or university through case awards. And the examples include organisations such as the Wellcome Trust, Cancer Research UK, and the British Academy. And some funding comes through employers, particularly, for example, for industry-based PhDs, which are mainly open to STEM, where people will undertake an industrial research project, and that's awarded by a partner university, but you would work with the organisation. So examples include AstraZeneca and Ferroscience. University funding will be allocated by individual universities, so you need to check their websites carefully to see what's available. And this could include studentships, scholarships, bursaries, and fee waivers. There might also be smaller amounts, for example, for alumni discount, and awards such as travel grants, conference grants, and hardships funds, which are designed to support existing students. Be aware that there'll be different purposes and eligibility criteria. So again, check carefully. Some will be based on merit, so high academic achievement, but others might be needs-based. So for example, to widen participation from underrepresented groups in PhD study. And there may be some which are specifically targeted at international students. Charitable trusts and foundations, some award funding to universities directly, but there are also awards for individuals. Often these are quite small, but some are more substantial, and you can apply to more than one. It does take time to research these, so start doing this early and just make sure you can meet the closing dates. They will all be different. Usually you must have applied for all of the sources of funding, but that might not always be the case. And to find these sorts of opportunities, use websites such as postgraduatefunding.com. This is a package that we at York buy in, so you need a York login to access it. Or you can use the website turntous.org.uk. If you're looking at international study, or you're an international student considering study in the UK, there will be some funded projects that you can apply to without restriction. For example, the UK Research Council doctoral programmes. You should also research scholarships from universities, charities and trusts. So some well-known ones are Commonwealth scholarships and Fulbright awards. There may also be some country-specific scholarships, either for students from or applying to particular countries, and some awards that are specific to universities, such as Wolfson scholarships. You might also be eligible for allowances and loans. So UK students may be able to apply for a postdoctoral loan from either Student Finance England or Student Finance Wales. Scottish funding is different. Or you may be eligible for the Disabled Students Allowance. Just check eligibility criteria. And I would really recommend using the findaphd.com guides to funding. They are really detailed and really helpful. You can also get further support from careers staff, either by booking a careers advice appointment or coming along to some of the further study events that are run by York staff. We also have further study web pages on the University of York Careers website. Just follow the link to study. And you may now wish to look at other presentations in this series. Part 1 is about what's involved in a PhD and is it right for you? And part 3 will focus on applying for a PhD.